Scholar athletes in the auditorium, which is always a great event to see how many there are. That's why we're starting a little late at this time, but we will open up for public comments. I believe we have just one name at this time, but I'll read our statement beforehand. The Board of Education invites the public to comment on matters regarding the school district. The public comment portion of the meeting is a time for the board to listen to you. Responses may be provided at this time or by an administrator at a later date. Please state your name and address. As a courtesy to others, limit your comments to 5 minutes. Comments should be respectful. Important that this is a public meeting, this is the board's meeting, and we expect all the comments to be done in a respectful way. Critical comments naming specific personnel should be addressed privately in order to protect individual rights. So, one name?
Susan Caseman.
Susan.
Okay, now it's blue. Good, okay. Yesterday, FEA members had a wonderful spring day with young Zhao. He spoke with such enthusiasm about the whole child. One pearl of wisdom that stuck with me was that every student is a combination of genius and just making standards. He said we have to allow students to discover what they are truly good at, so together we can nurture their accomplishments, which fosters student happiness and life success. Let them explore through our programs because they will find their area of genius. As the district continues to examine its program for the whole Fairport student, we can't lose sight of Zhao's insight. We can't lose sight of the importance of exploration. We can't lose sight of your long-standing board goals. Yesterday, FEA members wore red in solidarity. We stood with our 28 members who have been accessed, our part-time members who have been accessed, our 20 members from last year who were accessed and re-accessed again, our fellow colleagues from other Fairport unions who have been accessed, our retirees who were thrown into the chaos of cuts rather than a time of honor, our Fairport community, our colleagues, each other, in somber thought. How could we have lost 50 teachers in 2 years? Is it all declining enrollment? Throughout the day, many teachers spoke to me. 3 comments stand out from the rest. First, they have sucked the passion out of me with all that has happened and continues to go on. And the Fairport brand has taken a hit. It is scary. It is sad. And then, what we do in our classrooms is wonderful, but I'm not sure about the rest. Dr. Zhao also stated that the GPS is a great metaphor for education, but we have to know where we are going. FEA members lack the confidence in the direction of the Fairport brand. The teacher's passion is in the classroom with our students, but the educational world around that room is uncertain and somber. What are we to do? FEA thanks our superintendent for meeting with our librarians. We hope their suggestions for solutions to the accessing of the teaching assistants and constricting a program can be worked through together. I have every confidence you, board, will continue to re-examine budget items of which I have written to you. Perhaps every school district is also a combination of genius and just making standards. We hope to be able to work together so the Fairport family can recapture the passion of genius. We need to end the skittishness and sorrow caused by accessing. Your votes during your next meeting will make it real, will make it fresh again. Board, together we know just making standard is not the Fairport brand. It is not the wisdom of educating the whole child that we have always espoused. We're Fairport. We can be better. We must do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. There's no one else, is that right? Did anybody want to comment at this time? We have that option. Right, I appreciate your words, Susan, as always, and the passion and caring that you show every time for those, and the heartfelt emotions that go with those, indeed, that we know have been
I would just add that we agree. So we're nodding our heads. I mean, totally agree with what you're talking about, right? Greatness is not meeting the standard or even exceeding the standard. So we agree with that assessment.
It's a time where we need to have approval of the agenda. There is an addendum that goes with it, right? Just make sure everybody notices that, part of the personnel actions item, section 7. So those in favor to, does that have to be done separately? Separate motion? No, I can do this all in one motion? Okay. Very good. So motion to approve, Joyce, and Maureen, second. Sorry, approval of the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to.
So you're not seconding that?
I'm seconding.
Okay. Any possible changes? You can do so at another time, but this is probably the best time to do it? No? Okay. All in favor? 6-0, right? Kevin's absent. I shouldn't make a note. Kevin Glover. We already did the board commendations on here, as noted. It's from 6 to 6:30. We were in the auditorium. Incredible list of all the teams that happened over the winter time. It was just awesome to see them, and wish that more students could attend, but more students didn't attend because they were out on the field participating in other sports, which is incredible. In terms of communications, do we have our student representative here tonight? Does not. Okay. And no stand-in. Okay, very good. As a president's report, couple things. One, I wish I could have spent more time. I know many others did with Young Zhao yesterday, and did find it uplifting and inspirational, the community meeting, and hope people will take advantage of seeing that. I believe it was recorded, right, and is available. Always inspires me. I went home and listened to a TED Talk, this morning I listened to it while exercising on parenting, and think, I wonder if I just got off by dumb luck a little bit, you know, listening to Young Zhao. I think, yeah, I probably got dumb luck with how well my kids are doing, or their own genius. But we have a lot going on. This is an exciting meeting, I think. Our strategic initiatives, we have discussed those at the board workshop, or the board workshop for the last couple months as well. Tonight we're looking to adopt them. We'll be able to discuss them more if we want later on, but I know we've had a lot of discussions around them coming out of the deck and the long-term planning efforts that have been going on. So I think this is a big moment for us indeed, a big decision in taking steps forward to preserve the strengths that were identified, try to overcome the weaknesses as well that were identified, that perhaps that brought us to where we are, and be able to move forward with confidence. We have Meet the Candidate Night a week from tomorrow, and just kind of getting a preliminary, not preliminary announcement, we're going to keep that date. We haven't always done that in the past when there hasn't been any, for lack of a better word, I guess, competition, and there's not this year, right? Judy and I are the only ones on the ballot. But we thought that wouldn't be the case, knowing the process we've been going through with the long-term plan, and we have invited other board members, most of which are able to. Others had other activities conflicting that night and won't be there, but we will keep that and ask the other board members to attend, and we will take questions and use our student asset leaders, or we'll work out, I guess, more of the details for that. But regardless, a week from tomorrow, we will have more of an open forum for questions and answers with the board. And looking forward to that, but we want to be able to hear from the community as we would if it were just the two candidates, but now you'll have a chance to answer, or hopefully get answers from other board members as well, even though they're not up for election. So just wanted to make that a town hall style meeting. I was perusing our website tonight. I don't know how often we go there, how many people go to the websites anymore, right? We get a link and get exactly what we need from the link. But one of the headlines on there was Fairport hosts teachers from other districts and learning walks. And not knowing it was on our headline, but I saw that today before I had gone here and seen that. I had one of those teachers who lives in Fairport but works in another district come up just gushing about the experience, saying that overall you would think that across, Monroe County or others, you would expect that we'd be fairly the same, and we do a little better in this area and someone else is a little better in there. But this wasn't that. This wasn't a little better. She was gushing about the excellence that is going on and how do you do that. And I love the feedback, because indeed we hear about the challenging times, but I think it goes to show the strengths that that Fairport has, both in its culture and the commitment of the teachers, staff all around. And that's the strength indeed we're trying to carry on. So it was just awesome to get that independent, wasn't asked for, didn't know that she had participated in this learning walks, but she came up and shared that with me, and I was obviously very glad to hear that. So that's all I had overall. I know it says superintendent's report, but I always like to just look to the others. If there's anything specific in a Monroe County School Board meeting, committee meeting that you attended, do you want to share? I haven't given you any heads up, but just if there was anything special you wanted to add. Anyone? No? Okay.
At legislative, they're going to make appointments to meet with our legislators. And so those emails will come out, and anybody is welcome to go to those meetings. You don't have to be on the legislative committee, so watch for those if you're interested in going to their offices.
They'll be scheduled in May, is that the time frame?
That's what she's going to try for you.
Okay, right, so she lets us know, and then typically limited space, and so.
Yeah, and it may not work out because on election year, they're all very busy, but
Right.
she was going to try.
Okay, so look for that email. Always good opportunities to advocate. If there's no one else, I will hand the time over to Brett for both superintendent's report and the long-term plan.
Thank you. Green.
There you go, you're on.
Is it 6 or 6:30? I don't know. I don't know. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm going to do it from here. I'm going to withhold my comments for the future planning piece when we get to that piece for the agenda, and we'll have a good conversation about our process. One of my favorite parts about yesterday is that we were able to come together, and it was a wonderful opportunity for all staff members to visit with each other during our conference day. And I was excited about the topics. We had Dr. Young Zhao here throughout the day, and we also had the opportunity to meet with parents and Dr. Zhao in this room last night. The thing that kept coming to my mind was this concept of know thy student. It's something that we have always done so well here in Fairport, and I think that Susan Casement was speaking to that commitment to whole child and our ability to make sure that we connect and that there's opportunities beyond the classroom so students can really get to know who they are and you know, it's the seeds and the foundation of their life are built at the high school, and I think no one does it better than Fairport. And I'm happy to say that as we move forward, students will still be experiencing those same opportunities that they have always had in our Fairport schools, and it's something that we're very proud. It's in our DNA. And you know, Dr. Young Zhao was able to reiterate that, along with Chris Nemec, Dr. Nemec from the University of Rochester. Thank you very much. He talked about self-determination theory. Again, another theoretical approach that translates well in our schools, and I'm really excited that staff had an opportunity to engage. And then I went a little step further, and I was able to, you know, throughout the day, just reflect upon all the great things that we do in our school district that really define who we are, and, you know, it's still burning bright. The core beliefs are alive and well in Fairport, giving students an incredible platform to do and experience school in so many ways. We have teachers involved in curriculum and assessment projects that speak to this inquiry-based mindset. We have 2 middle schools that are nationally recognized middle schools in being schools to watch. Those are based upon research-based parameters, a rubric that reiterates best practices. We have an ENL newcomer program that is second to none in Monroe County, and we're excited to be a part of our newcomers and give them a quality experience. We have an access and equity coordinator who has spirited an incredible initiative on seeking equity in education and diversity. We have over 100 staff members who are employing the principles of SEED in the classroom to make sure that we're socially aware and applying the principles of social justice, and that program's only growing. And we just experience continually our commitment to our students beyond the day with our interscholastic sports. We just celebrated a number of teams that not only did and represented Fairport with pride on the playing field or in the court, but in the classroom as well. There's also our over 100 clubs, so students, again, can enjoy school beyond the classroom. And that's an intentional research-based approach that speaks to the importance of having connections beyond the school day. There's robotics, there's Odyssey of the Mind, which our parents support. We have the NASA Hunch program, which has experienced all sorts of success. We have a commitment to special areas at the middle school in our health, art, and music. We are happily and proudly over-mandated because we have those as priorities. There's a hack lab where we're experiencing makerspace concepts at the elementary school at Northside, and that idea is only growing. There's a technology vision team. There's a commitment to CTE and BOCES and vocational opportunities at FHS. So as we continue to move forward as we future plan, these ideas are at the core of who we are, and I'm excited that to represent them and see them in action in so many different ways. At the special Education Board of Education meeting last week, a community member inquired about the Transportation Center. We'll be talking a little bit about the Transportation Center today, which is slated to begin in the spring. This Transportation Center will be at no additional cost to taxpayers. We will use state aid and district reserves to offset the cost of the project, and we'll be talking more about that in a little bit, but I just felt like I wanted to address that question. We've had the opportunity to talk to our library media specialist on multiple different occasions. Our assistant principals and principals are collaborating, we'll be collaborating with them in the very near future, but they've been behind the scenes trying to create a master schedule that helps us put forth a quality program that supplements the work that the computer labs were doing for so many different years. We feel very confident that with continued collaboration and making sure that the master schedule works, that we're going to have a program that is going to be good for our students and fair for our library media specialists. They've been great collaborators. We've learned a lot from them, and we're looking forward to putting forth some ideas and making sure that we meet their needs so they could do the true work of a library media specialist, but also meet, and just as important, meet the needs of our students to give them a high-quality experience that we can only build upon in the future. I would hope that we would be able to get a statement out the first week of May to parents so we can begin letting them know of our plans. There's also been some talk about the new elective schedule at the middle level, and I thought it would be important to publicly just identify some points of interest regarding the middle level changes in specials. Our specials schedule will continue to give students the same experiences. No class time for any course has been reduced. So we just switched the schedule and how it will be implemented. So it preserves the amount of time spent in each special area for grades 6 through 8. Total class time currently meets the New York State Education Department requirements. In fact, Fairport's music and art programs are at the middle level are beyond the mandated minimum requirements, even for students not participating in ensembles. It allows students and teachers in given disciplines to go more in depth in the curriculum because of the sustained period of time that the new schedule will allow. It offers fewer transitions for students during the school year, 2 transitions compared to 4. It reduces the amount of time for traveling teachers, which increases teachers' availability for students as the teacher is in the building for a greater portion of the day. As part of this transition, both middle schools are providing art and family and consumer science clubs next year for those who are interested to participate in those clubs. They will also try to infuse it into the master schedule for 7th graders to visit the art room during a study hall or during their lunch period so they can have an opportunity to engage in art if they choose. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brett. Anybody? Oops. Any questions, comments there? Okay, so we have the Treasurer's Report and Investment Update from Mr. Stevens.
Okay, thank you and good evening. The Treasurer's Report in front of you tonight is for the month ending February 2018. The district had a beginning balance in February of $63.8 million. Receipts for the month of $2.6 million, disbursements of $8.6 million, for an ending cash balance of $57.9 million. Of the $57.9 million, the district has approximately $52.6 million invested primarily in T-bills, and about $37.5 million in T-bills, $10 million in CDs, and then $5.1 million in an insured cash sweep account. That accounts for approximately 91% of the total cash. Thank you.
Thanks on that. The other funds, we always discuss the general fund, right? That was general fund. There's $3.6 million in the debt service and some others in capital. So is there opportunity, I mean, to maximize interest over there? They seem to be earning still like the 0.1 compared to what ICS and the CDs are paying. Or are those being used to offset our fees at the bank? I just wonder about, since they're substantial, we're talking $7-8 million.
In terms of
those other funds, debt service, capital, where we have, you know, big pockets of money.
The capital fund itself must be, maintained in the account to pay off the bills throughout the project. So because that's money that's borrowed, we have the cash flow for those payments that come due pretty quickly. The debt service fund is something that we, certainly will look at in terms of investing that piece as well. So.
Great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the school lunch, federal, those monies are, essentially the general fund is sometimes fronting money to the special aid fund because that money doesn't come to the district until after we spend it. So there's some loaning of funds over to special aid in order to fund all the federal programs in that aid as well.
Yeah, relatively, they're much smaller. I was just looking at those with largest chunks of money and making sure the dollars are working for us.
Correct. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, so approval of the consent calendar, item 6 on the agenda, with our minutes from past meetings, and then there's the treasurer's report itself that was just reviewed, bid recommendations and donations that have been made to the district. So it's a good list there. Going on to page 3. A motion to approve the consent calendar. Judy, second. Marty, all in favor? 6-0. Personnel action items, I think we will go with the addendum first. I believe we have a row of people here waiting for this part anyway, and we want to recognize the exciting.
You don't want to wait until the end.
Not too long. I think we've bored them long enough on the other parts, right? Waiting for this moment. So anyway, we have on the addendum an instructional staff action for probationary appointment for Aaron Moretta as the Northside Elementary principal. Motion to approve, Joyce. Second, Damon. Any questions or anything else to make Aaron nervous before we say yes?
Yeah,
or
don't
no?
we want to?
Her speech, that's what we want to
We want
say.
to talk about this first?
Right, I think we need some discussion around this, right? No.
She wouldn't talk about yesterday. We wanted a speech from her yesterday, and she wouldn't talk then, so I think we should.
Now's our chance.
Will the kids tell us all about it?
Without being smart, Alex, and anything else, or all in favor? 6-0. Congratulations, Aaron.
Congratulations. And congratulations to your family and your colleagues. It's a nice show of support.
We are very happy. I think it's.
You could take your kids to ice cream now. Aiden, right? You like that? Noah?
Okay, back to the regular agenda. What's there now is A, instructional staff actions. That takes us all the way through what, top of, or halfway down page 5. All right, we have long-term substitutes, parenthood leave of absence, resignations, leave of absence, and teacher to be mentors, substitute teachers, retirements, athletic coaches, resignation of some coaches, athletic supervisors, and volunteer coaches. Motion to approve. Maureen? Second. Marty? Any questions about that part? All in favor? 6-0. Non-instructional and civil service staff actions, Part B. So we have new appointments there. And on the backside, then transfers, additional position, parenthood leave of absence, personal leave of absence, retirements, resignations. So down to the bottom of page 6, you have all those lists there. Motion to approve. Marty, second. Damon? Any questions or discussion? No? All in favor? 6-0. What's that you want to say?
I just wanted to wish Christina congratulations on her parental leave.
Oh, yes.
yeah, congratulations. Very good.
Just what she wanted, is how it looks like.
The camera right on her?
Oh, something else.
C, memorandum of agreement for extending the retirement deadlines. I guess we have to do them separately. C. Then motion to approve. Judy, second. Joyce, any questions on this? All in favor? 6-0. And then D, similar motion, or memorandum of agreement. Motion to approve that one. Damon, second. Marty, questions, discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Okay, item 8, presentation. So for our capital project, I believe this is for the Transportation Center?
Yes, Mark Esposito from campus will be coming up. Before that occurs, though, I'm going to have Mr. Stevens talk a little bit about history, give us a little history lesson, because it's been a while. That sort of introduces and where we've been, sort of lay the path on our transportation journey and how it will impact us as we move along. And then Mark will come in and ride us through. So, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you. The piece just to highlight, and we talked, Mr. Provenzano talked about this earlier, about the overall capital project budget for the transportation facility. And you can see up on the screen, a breakdown of the incidental construction budget and contracts and so forth. But overall, first we started with the overall referendum was for $11.2 million. So that was the not to exceed amount on the construction and incidental work of the project. In managing the budget, the district had some capital reserve, building reserve monies that were allocated in the project referendum in order to keep the tax impact after the building aid coming in at a zero additional local share. So in essence, the district, once this project is complete and we go to final bonding, the district will only borrow $7.9 million as opposed to 11.2 because we're utilizing the $3.27 million to decrease the amount the district borrows. So after building aid flows in over the course of 30 years, the estimated building aid is about $15.4 million, and the principal and interest is $15.4 million. So it's strategically planned out in terms of looking at the capital reserve, as well as when we did the roof project. So really planning for 2 projects throughout that and looking at what the district would need in order to keep the transportation project for the construction portion at a zero additional local share. So that's the breakdown in terms of the long-term impact on the debt service and when the building aid flows in over the years. And just a quick note, the building aid of $15.4 million, that's money that isn't generated without capital construction. So that building aid of $15.4 million wouldn't be received if the district wasn't conducting construction going through the state. So
I think that's an important point, just to clarify that you can almost think of a virtual firewall between operational budget and building and construction budget. And the money we're spending on transportation centers or construction projects within the district, that's capital money that's aidable from the state for capital expenditures. If we don't spend the money on capital projects, we're not given that aid back to reimburse us for those expenses. But that's a method of us keeping the district modern and functional for our kids. On the operational side, that's where we pay salaries and benefits and so forth. That's a separate budget item and not reimbursable for the most part from the state. Could you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's accurate. So, again, the capital construction, the building aid doesn't generate unless there's construction taking place. So what triggers the building aid is actually the whole process of submitting to the state, first off having voter approval on a project, submitting to the state the plans and specs, getting those approved, going out for bid as required, and then actually conducting the construction. So without all of those pieces taking place, then the building aid will never be triggered to the school district, and any school district across the state for that matter. So yeah, it's a separate, and the district is required to track that in a separate fund called the capital fund. So it's the other piece of, kind of an expense-based aid that districts receive.
Okay.
in the construction pace.
Great.
So,
So the impact of the capital construction and the projects and the funding is one thing, but then once we have updated facilities, that does impact our operational budget because it impacts power, utilities, transportation costs, fuel costs, and so forth. So the more efficient we become with our capital footprint, if you will, the more money we save, and we become efficient and productive on the operational side.
correct.
Okay.
Yep, and, you know, currently, the building aid being generated for such projects, the district, to our district, is approximately 77%.
77. Man, the governor had proposed capping expense-based type aids, which didn't pass.
Correct.
Would this have been included in that category, capital reimbursements or capital aid, like what we would be getting? I'm just thinking down the road, okay, he put it in, it didn't pass this year, I'll put it in next year perhaps, one of these years it might come through. Would it be retroactive or on everything, or if you borrowed before that time period, we would be good for the 15 years and getting our reimbursement as we anticipated?
It truly depends on what would be approved in the state budget.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things that could change our trajectory with, but for now, it looks like, right, 15.4 is what we are anticipating to receive, which also matches our outflow.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
Mark?
Good evening, Mark Esposito with Campus Construction Management Group. So this is the breakdown of our current construction work that's in place. The transportation facilities incidental budget is just over $1.8 million. We have our construction contingency that will track throughout the projects for potential change orders of $403,100. And then the construction value that's included inside of the transportation to make that 11.2 value is that $8.9 million value. And then we also have some work associated with Northside Elementary School and Dudley Elementary School out of the $29.2 million 2015 capital improvement project. So that's at $782,680. So that's on top of that 11.2. It is the work that you're seeing over there that's around the playground to fix some of the swales issues that's going on over there. A lot of drainage going on. And at Dudley, there's some grading along with some basketball court is being rebuilt over there. So yes, the majority of that is site work. So just to update on the construction contingency budget, as we'll show you every month, this is our current status. We do not have any change orders allocated against the $403,000. We are tracking a few issues that are about $86,000 pending. Nothing has been proceeded on or moved forward with at this point, and it's being reviewed by the design team and project teams to see if it's worth pursuing to better help the project out. So what's going on over at Northside Elementary School? As you drive by, you can see a lot of heavy machinery and a lot of dirt being moved. We have some photos to show this there, but we have been moving quite a bit of the excavation. Goes down to 10 feet. We cut out of that hill to make a flat playing area. We're adding some additional asphalt area around the playground, and then also fixing in that swale and putting drainage pipes throughout there so we can have a less saturated site around that playground area so it's more usable for the students. The goal for that around the playgrounds to be completed here in May. We do go back and do the Dudley side and a little bit of the entrance drive at the summer after school is out. So just to show you some of those, that is one of the stakes that was in the ground where we bring the surveyor in, and that cut is close to 10 feet down to the ground out of that hill, so that was very substantial. It was just shy of 7,000 cubic yards that was moved around this site, earthwork-wise. So looking at the expanded play area at Northside. This is looking at the playground from the parking lot area where we had that swale that was just, it was naturally grabbing the water and moving it around the site. We put pipes in there so we have a safer playground area for the students to be playing around. And again, so this was the preparation for a new asphalt pad that's going outside there, so they have additional area to play on around the playground. A cut into the hillside for a more panoramic view. This is the pad for the new asphalt area for them to be playing on. As we get prepped into some drier weather, we're going to get asphalt out there and pave this area. A look at it from the roof. And then just a look out at the cut of the hill along with the play area. Any questions over with north side work that's ongoing right now? So I'm going to roll into the transportation area and keep on going with the master schedule for transportation, what's going on there, what we've been doing for the past 3 months since we've awarded contracts, and what to expect here in the coming months as we get prepared to start this project. So the overall schedule, we broke it up by building and the site work itself. The new transportation building, after school gets out, we'll begin putting in the footers, foundations, building the building, erecting it. Our plan is to start after school gets out and have it completed by April 1, 2019. At that point, we'll make the transition of the people utilizing the building over to the new building so we can demolish the existing building in the month of May 2019, which will get us prepared to finish off that site work in the summer of 19. But going into starting next month, we're going to be starting mobilization to the transportation site, not affecting any of their day-to-day operations there. We're going to be looking to start working on the sides, both east and west of that area, cleaning up because we have a retaining wall that needs to get put in, and start prepping for our work. We have site infrastructure that will happen going after school gets out because we're going to have to do a temporary shutdown to bring in new power lines into that. We have new gas runs, we have storm lines, sanitary lines that are all being installed for the new building. We will be demolishing the fuel island starting this summer. It is scheduled to be offline for the year currently. And then we have reconstruction of the parking lots. We're going to take down the existing parking lot, prepare it with binder before the end of the summer, and have the buses come back on the site. And at the, I believe it's August 25th date, they'll be back on site so you guys can operate as your normal transportation facility would, starting for the September 2018 school year. For the 18-19 school year, the only thing that's going to be different is that the drivers will not be located on the site. We're going to be shuttling them to the site, and we'll get into that a little bit further on what to expect here in a little bit. And then, go ahead.
Where's the new fuel island going to be located? I mean, the temporary.
The temporary conditions for fueling is
Yeah.
we actually are bringing a tanker to the site, and they're going to be loading up the buses as where they're parked. And some of the other municipalities and people that utilize that fuel station are making some other accommodations at this point during the school year of the 18-19 school year.
Okay. So the tank we're providing is that a mobile tank or?
It is a tanker that comes in. It's a service that's provided from an outside source, and it's run through the incidental budget for the purposes of this project.
Okay, so it'll run through the parking lot every day to fuel up the?
I believe right now it's on an every other day schedule, but that's something that as we get through there and actually start working those accommodations, could be needed.
Yeah, we're in the process of preparing the bid in order to get that, so you'd see it at a future date for a bid award. And working with transportation to prepare that for the fuel itself and the types of fuel needed throughout the year and additives.
But that'll be at the new location where we're temporarily, or we're going to keep the buses at the same
It would be on
location?
site, yes, yep. So we looked at a few different options in terms of fueling, and really worked in terms of trying to get a fuel island in, but in terms of, and you could talk
Yep.
about this in terms of power a little bit better than I could, but ultimately, in terms of looking at efficiencies and such, would be to, there are companies that'll come in and fuel right on site to be sure our buses are topped off and ready to go.
This becomes very similar to a typical construction site where we have heavy machinery. The tankers come to them and have to fill them up. We're going to do the same thing with your bus fleet to minimize any traveling outside of the district to fuel them up and then travel back. It was looked at as a more cost-effective manner to be able to keep them fueled. And then the summer of 19, we'll be putting on the final top coat of asphalt after the existing building has been demolished. The new building's up and running. So when this project is wrapped up, it looks like it's a brand new site, nice new blacktop, with restoration happening at the end of August for the new planning season, with the project completing before the September 1st, 2019 school year. So what's been happening for the past 3 months as we've awarded this contract back in January? We did a kickoff meeting with all the contractors. The contractors have been working with the project team and the design team, making sure we're all going through our schedules, that everybody's on the same page, because once we get going in the beginning of June, we want to hit the ground running, get the foundations in, get the building up, and make sure we get it enclosed before we get the winter weather coming around, so that way we can continue building inside the building. But there's been a lot of coordination, a lot of team meetings between the district staff that's been helping out with the projects, with Ross and Matt and other people, making sure in the Pete Marie and Pete Lawrence over there to understand really how they're going to need to be able to utilize the site on a day-to-day basis while we're in construction. And then it's also a coordination with utility companies that we have to connect to in the easements that are out by Aralt Road, along with the fire and police departments, so they know what's going on at the construction site throughout the entire project. Because if there was an incident there, we want them to be familiar with what's going on, so they're just not showing up to a construction site. And then also because they utilize that fueling station. So there's a lot of communication with the local municipalities. And then, so what to expect, like I said, beginning of May, we're going to be mobilizing to the site. We're going to be working the east side of the parking lot because we have some grubbing and tree clearing that's on that side of the parking lot, along with installation of the retaining wall. We'll be pulling all of the buses off the site June 22nd and then bringing them here to the high school for the summer to be stored only at the summertime, and they'll be coming back at the end of August. And then we have small buses going to Martha Brown in an area there that's all built for heavy-duty asphalt. The fueling station, like we said, will be decommissioned here at the end of this school year, with the buses being fueled with an outside contractor. Drivers will be parked at Minerva DeLand starting in September and being shuttled to the transportation center. This was reviewed at, we looked at many different sites throughout this entire process. One of our major things we had to deal with was safety and security of the transportation fleet and how the building operates. It's a policy that the drivers have to get the keys every single morning and someone has to hand them to them. So if we were to be bringing offices off the site and dealing with maintenance off-site, the cost would have escalated quite drastically. And trying to bring the fleet to other locations, looking at that, the potential for damaging or having to replace an entire parking lot off-site would have also increased a lot of costs. So a lot of thought went into looking at multiple sites. I think there was probably about half a dozen throughout the local area that we looked at to see best way to operate this. And it landed on keeping your maintenance department inside the existing facility and operating like they do on a day-to-day basis. And then also keeping all of the bus drivers parking on district property and not going out to an outside entity or the town to be able to park on there, and bringing them all in a shuttle process to the existing transportation facility.
A question on that,
Yep.
and probably not so much for you, Matt and Brett. Just when we passed the budget, we saw the increased expense related to shuttling, right, on the budget. Just seeing the contingency incidental budget and have no idea what's been itemized, if anything, at the time. Is there any way that can absorb some of that or part of that? What options do we have there?
Those pieces are salary related, so they're outside the construction budget itself. So the construction pays for contractors, all the different trades from HVAC to plumbing, site work, general contractor. So the actual salary costs would have to be reflected in the general fund. So now it is a projection and estimate, and certainly we'll keep our eye on that in terms of efficiencies to try to, minimize the impact.
Those funds can't be used for that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll have minimal site parking at the transportation facility once we go underway, because we have the new building going exactly next to the old building. So really that new building's taking up where that driver parking was. So that's why this accommodation had to be put in place. And then all the buses return by August 27th to the site to get ready for the new school year. We had a good opportunity to present this to the bus driver group with Pete Lawrence last month, and I believe it was taken very well. So, have a couple layouts here. This is the site layout of what the site will look like from an overhead when we're done and completed. As you can see, the new fuel island in the front of the facilities located pretty close to the existing one, so that's why it has to be decommissioned, so we can tear it up and then put the new one in. So it has some overlapping conditions on it. And then the location of the new facility. Car parking is in the front and bus parking is in the back. This is a rendering of the facility in itself that was put together by Labella. As you can see, we have the new canopy that was included and awarded as part of the contracts. And then we also have just a section of the building, just so you can get that perspective of what it would look like going through with it. You have the lower area being the bus lifts itself, and then the upper area is where the office area and the conference room and bus drivers' lounge is there. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, next, board discussion action items. We have approval of our strategic initiatives I'd mentioned during the president's report. So I need a motion to approve those. Damon, second. Marty? Brett, you mentioned you wanted to save part of your report for this section?
Yeah, I guess, the whole purpose of our District Advisory Council was exactly that. It was to make sure that we had a platform for the future, make sure that we can fiercely defend our incredible vision and our whole child mindset. The whole purpose of the strategic initiatives and the strategic planning process was to engage stakeholders, and I am proud of the fact, for the first time that I've been here in close to 15 years, that we engaged in a complete engaging process that incorporated community members, staff members, administrators, of course, the Board of Education. We had students involved. The University of Rochester was our partner, and they were there to make sure that we had a disciplined approach to produce fundamental decisions and actions that will shape and guide our future. So that's the whole purpose of strategic planning, is to make sure that we have a vision in place so people have clarity and purpose on what we're trying to accomplish. Now, it started in November, and actually it started in September with many informational meetings and opportunities to learn and understand about our process. We had over 100 school members involved in our District Advisory Council who were able to take a close look at the focus groups, which generated feedback from approximately 1,000 stakeholders. And then the survey was an opportunity for us to learn from 2,000 community members who were part of the community, and whether they were homeowner, business owner, and some staff who actually took it as well. So over 2,000 people participated in that portion of it. And then that study group, the District Advisory Council, studied the data relative to educational programming, fiscal sustainability, and our facilities planning. And from that information, they came up with some pretty insightful, thoughtful recommendations to me, which I have then been fleshing out with the Board of Education for the past several months at our workshops, at our meetings here. It's been an important part of our process and work, because we know that it's important that there is a plan, and this plan will give people confidence that our vision and our mission are alive and well, and there's a plan to keep it and build upon it, and that's exciting work in and of itself.
If I could offer comment, Brett, and that, just as a board, since I've been on the board for 4 or 5 years now, and I know I was watching the board before that and listening to the board comments, I just wanted to recognize the significant trajectory that we're on at this point, and we've gotten away from planning for the next 5 minutes, 5 weeks, 5 months, to planning for the next 5 years, and that's really, really significant and important, because it does provide that guidepost for us now in all the decisions that we make from here moving forward are going to be in the context of a 5-year plan and not just moving year to year, which I think has caused problems. And we've done our best, I know, year to year, to do what's best for kids and best for the district at the time. But without that 5-year guidepost and kind of where we're moving to and where we want to be, it's been very difficult to be strategic. So I just think it's very positive. And I'm looking forward to working on the strategic initiatives and the management plan and getting started on the execution. And all I want to mention is, as we set forward on this path together, that I think we need everybody to have patience, because this will require change necessarily, right? This is going to change how we operate, how we look, and I think that that's part of the plan. But I think people need to recognize that, and and be flexible to adapting. I'm looking at you, Kaz.
I agree. I sat in this room first year trying to get elected and mentioned the need of a long-term plan and asked many times along the way if we had one. The answer was yes, and never saw it produced. Right? Never was given a document that showed us that we had one and we were making those decisions. And so I'm just ecstatic that we're going to be able to get the backbone of it tonight, knowing that there's still more to be fleshed out on your side, the management work that will fall on your shoulders and then the staff shoulders, right? And still looking for, I think, some degree of that opening vision statement, though, right, about what this five-year plan does, because then that will be updated for the next five-year plan and where we get to. But I still like something of the pathway, the sustainability, securing our foundation, whatever it is, but making sure we can continue on as Fairport, again, the pluses, the strengths, and get rid of the weaknesses as much as we can. Any other comments, or?
I would like to thank the Board of Education's support of this work and the confidence that you had in the process. And as we moved along, we had a great partner in University of Rochester as well. Their feedback and their disciplined and research-based approach really added a lot of credibility and depth to our process. And without your support and your passion to make sure that we had this plan, it wouldn't have come to fruition. So thank you.
I know it was a busy year trying to do all of this, and it's not over yet, though, is it? Because we want to see that management plan next.
And that will be the topic of conversation tomorrow. And
Right.
I know that there's lots of interest about the management plan and how we can make that. You can look at me to make sure that it becomes a reality, because it will become our work. And I know there's lots of energy and excitement around it. So onward if the board so chooses. Thank you.
And schedule around that, though, if this is approved tonight, the management plan is
That will be
June,
through the summer and into August, September. We'll be
Okay.
able to vet that out.
great.
You know, I wrote down here something that Young Zhao said, and I'm not sure if it was at the lunch we were at or at one of the sessions, and he talked about, you know, we hear a lot in the media or in education in general, but I think it applies to this process that we're going through right now and change in the district. We hear a lot about preparing for the future, right? And what he said is we're not preparing for the future because we don't know what the future is going to look like. We're preparing for a future, right? And I think that that's true with our students and how we're trying to educate and prepare our students for a future. But it's also true for our district because we don't know necessarily what this district is going to look like from a population perspective, from a focus perspective, from the needs of our children. Of course, that changes every day, every year. So we have to provide an adaptable district that is ready for the future or a future and not a prescribed future because we just don't know what that's going to be. Think about that, Brett.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor of approving the strategic initiatives? 6-0. Congratulations, Brett. That's a big milestone.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you, and I'm proud and excited to move forward with it. And I think everyone who had their hand in it and the community members who were involved in it have been a part of this. So it's going to be exciting for our schools as we move forward. So thank you. Thank you.
Indeed, yes. Thanks for mentioning the community members involved, 'cause I know they put a lot of hours in. Dave, you being one of them, but many others in the room. Okay, the approval of comprehensive plan for student support, meaning more of the RTI AIS, right? AIS, I got that right, okay. Motion to approve. Damon, and second by Maureen. Do we have questions or discussions around that? Has we had a chance to review that? No? Everybody comfortable with what they saw? Yeah.
State mandated thing that we have to approve just because the state says we have to approve it. Something like that?
Well, I think that's, I look at it as a little more than that. We're also part of, with the strategic plan, becoming more, what's the word? This is more holistic across our district, right?
Yeah, this was another effort that I'm proud of. That, you know, it was a 1.5-year process. It just was something that many people had an opportunity to put their hands on.
True.
and have a voice and make sure that it was Fairport, that it did follow the tenets of developmentally appropriate practices and the NACE's commitment that we have of ensuring the whole child. So it's a nice tribute to that. So thank you.
Anything else? All in favor? 6-0. Board policies first reading. I won't go over all the names of the policies listed there, but need a motion to approve the first readings of those policies vetted by our policy committee. Joyce, motion, second. Marty, any questions on any of those that are the first time we're seeing them as a whole?
I did have a question about, well, a couple of them. The booster clubs, in general, I liked it, but I thought there was a statement in that policy that said that the fundraising is voluntary, right? But I wondered if there was a need for a statement that participation on the team, club, or organization was not, fundraising was not required.
What says donations? So donation means it's just that. You decide to put it or you don't.
But it doesn't impact your being on the team or participation.
No. Correct.
That's implicit in donation.
Does it?
As opposed to a fee. It's not a fee. It's a donation that you choose to make. So
Okay.
that's why
All right.
we use the word donation, and that's why it should remain
Okay, all right.
confidential.
Are you trying to add fundraising into that, though? Because
Well, I'm just saying
donation and
that-
fundraising?
Well, I'm not, I know we've talked about it before, right? And we've talked about sometimes there being issues of your participation on a team and the fundraising. Fundraising oftentimes falls on the parent, obviously, as well. And if the child, for some reason, or doesn't participate in fundraising or donations, does that impact their ability to be on the team or standing on the team or club or organization? I just didn't know if we wanted to spell that out or if it
Well,
was
that's
implied.
why we did add confidential, so that no one knows who donated and who didn't, other than the treasurer.
Okay.
No one else will even be aware.
I think we worked really hard on that part, but it's interesting that you still have a question.
Yeah.
Well, I just sometimes need to see it in black and white, and sometimes implied intent doesn't necessarily spell,
Right.
a firm statement that says this is what we want. So, I'm comfortable with what you have, but I just thought maybe that could be construed or not construed in specific ways.
If there's something that you'd like to recommend, this is our first reading. We have a policy meeting between now and the next board meeting. So Damon, if there's something you'd like to suggest, we could always bring that to the policy committee, come back and look at it again, because the second reading is when it's finally approved. This is just for that
No,
exact reason. Sometimes there's nuances that, when you're involved in something, you don't see all the particulars, and someone coming out, some of those of us who are not on the policy committee, see that.
Mhm.
And so that's why I think we always have to have the double readings, is because sometimes you get into it, you think you know what you said, it's taken a long time to get there, and someone says, but I didn't see that. And so as that outside spokesperson, if you see something you'd like to have us look at again, please say something.
Well, I just said it.
So that's what I was
I knew I
saying
made
to
a
you.
mistake.
I think your input is
Told her to say
great,
something.
Yeah.
because we thought we did that,
Right.
but you're not seeing it, so
Well, the
we
way I
should look
read it, I
again.
don't see it, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Sorry, does that mean we take it out and remand it back to the committee? Or is it still stay here and we approve it, but you visit it between now and the second reading? Is it,
I would send it back to committee. I mean, I think
so it won't go?
what you're asking for, and I,
Precise.
Marty's right. We spent so much time that we think we said it, but we all know what we wanted to say. So fresh
Yeah.
eyes are much better
Right.
than ours who looked at it for months. Maybe it needs to say something more like voluntary, confidential, and not,
Independent of
not
participation?
tied to participation or something like that. So maybe we can figure out a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
just think
different
maybe
wording
in
to
this case,
add to
being a
it.
little bit more specific is not,
Yeah, the more we say to make
Yep.
sure it's clear, because if your first time you looked at it, it wasn't clear to you, then we didn't do what we thought we did. So
I'm
we
a
can
pretty
add-
simple guy, Joyce, so.
You're a pretty specific guy.
Right, yeah. I need to see it, but nevertheless, my other
Yeah.
question was on the media policy. You talked about media access to events, controlled access to events, whether they be on a campus, within the district, or off-site, I believe was the statement, or otherwise. And I just wanted to clarify that, do we have control of media access to off-site activities? I mean, if it's, if we're not on the district property, can we really control where the media has access to what we're doing?
Well, you partner with them, and, these are even public grounds, and, we have good relationships with our media, but it is limiting to that extent.
Right.
I've talked to council about this. I've talked to our media specialists about this as well, and, it's something that you work with the news agencies, but if it is an off-site, like at U of R or something like that, you lose some of that control, if you will.
Yep. So I'm just not sure if, in a policy, if we make a statement that we do control that.
We will, well, again, even if it's on-site, they have right to be across the street, right?
Yeah.
Away from us. They could even press it and say, what, we can be on this public property too. So, then it gets into some nuances, little gray area there for your specific approach that you like to take.
Right.
So I guess back to my question, I'm trying to remember my Robert's Rules of Order enough. Do we need to remove that policy from the first reading, which takes a motion to have it removed, or anybody know?
The media policy?
Yeah, no, the
Procedural policy.
Booster Club.
That was the first reading.
Well, if we bring it back, we bring it back as a second reading
Right,
as an amendment.
But it can
With
be
amendment,
edited.
yes.
I think we
What
can
we
bring
do.
it back
That's
as a
what I
think. Just
second
bring it
reading
back as a
as
With an
amended.
edit, okay.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it for now with the
And we'll
note
just
in the
work it,
minutes that
tweak
you'll
it,
work it,
and
yeah.
bring it back.
Right, okay, good. So it stays, no extra motions, but note to be
Bring her back up.
reviewed,
Because
yes.
we're just approving a first reading anyways.
Right. Very good, so we've already had the motion and second. Any other, if there's none other, all in favor of the first reading? 6-0. We do have 3 of the second reading. Motion to approve the second reading for those 3 policies. Maureen? Second. Judy? Any discussion there? All in favor? 6-0. Appointment of vote personnel for the upcoming budget vote and, election inspector on May 15th. Motion, we don't have a motion there to approve, but should be, right? Motion to approve, Damon. And second, Marty. All in favor? Or any questions? Okay, all in favor? 6-0. School-sponsored field trips. We had that list given to us. A motion to approve those school-sponsored field trips. Joyce, second. Judy, any questions or discussion?
Questions are, what's the access of the board to actually attend some of these field trips? They look pretty cool.
You gotta pay.
Gotta pay.
All in favor? 6-0. Okay, we have opportunity for any board comments before we adjourn to this executive session. So Maureen?
Well, there's 2 things I'd like to comment on. At last week's meeting, I said at the end of the meeting that so many people were concerned about what was happening with computers, that we heard from the public on that. And I said, I know that as a group, we have said there would be no program changes. So it's been very nice to go to the building visit at Dudley this past week and get some more input from Brett about what's been happening when the meeting that Sue alluded to with the library media specialist, that we are working on a program that we're not dropping computers. We're going to have them happen in a different way that we think that might be better in a number of different reasons, for a number of different reasons, because it's a little bit more planned and more people are on board with this. So I just wanted to assure people that might have been there for the last week's meeting that we are progressing. Computers are not dead in Fairport. The other comment I'd like to make is a personal comment about I'm the most embarrassed board member. I don't know if you know this or not, but after yesterday's meeting with Young Zhao, well, before it happened, I went to the parking lot and there was no place to park. So what do you do when there's no place to park?
Make your own.
You park in the side where you park for football games. So you just go in there. Only in the spring, it's a little different because there's lots of nice rutted areas where the construction vehicles have been.
Lots of mud.
And it's kind of soft. And there's not gravel. So the next thing I knew, my car was parked with my car's wheels going in the same direction as the ruts. It's a little bit like parking in the snow, but this time you're in the middle of dirt. They said, oh, just talking to the people from Buildings and Grounds. So I said, okay, got a phone number, put it on a napkin. And when the meeting with Young Zhao was over, I called this number, did not know who I was talking to, and said, I'm the person who's stuck in the parking lot. Within 5 minutes, he was there. His name is Mark. Murph was there. They're looking. Daryl comes up. Now, those are the only people whose names I know. Every Buildings and Grounds truck that went by stopped and looked. And they proceeded to take divots and put the divots into the place where I had the ruts. And they proceeded to take gravel from other places and put gravel. It was like a 25-minute project. Thank you, Joyce, for staying with me on this whole thing.
You took pictures.
She took pictures. The trucks were all lined
They
up.
problem solved.
And they just
knew how to problem
worked it
solve.
out.
It wasn't easy.
I did get a comment from Murph that he's planning to retire, so I'm guessing I'm going to have to approve that. When the time comes, I said, well, you haven't asked for us yet, so I'll have to think about it, but I did promise that I would do that. But I did want to thank Buildings and Grounds for being so efficient and helpful, and they didn't even give me the look, that they sometimes people give you when you've done something stupid. It was very, very nice, very, very professional. I want to thank them all for the help that they gave us. At the end, there were something like 5 men pushing the Prius. Now, the Prius doesn't make noise, so they didn't know when the car started. So that was another piece. They're like ready for the car to start and going, guys, it's going. So that was the fun part. But I do want to thank Buildings and Grounds for your help. Ross, thank you. You've got a great team up here. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Ross, wasn't it about a year ago that we broke that main power line going into the district? Was that about a year ago? You think about how far you've come, and that's, right.
What is that?
That was a.
We better go on. Okay.
Can I keep talking?
No, any other comments besides Damon? Yeah, Marty?
Just a reminder, I know many of you are busy, but the naturalization ceremony sponsored by Brooks Hill is Thursday morning, and a very, I think, very neat connection to that is that one of the Brooks Hill students who, we always have students read their essays at that ceremony, one of the students who read her essay about 12 years ago is becoming a citizen Thursday morning. So coming full circle from being a 5th grader, standing on the wooden block, giving her speech, to becoming a citizen. So we'll especially celebrate that.
Awesome.
Can I talk?
Always a
That was not my turn.
Anybody else? Okay.
No, I just wanted to recognize the first robotics team, 578 World Championships, right? They've done really, really well, and I know that's been on a lot of social media and on the news channels. So best of luck to those guys. They've really done fantastic work with that team, and that's really excellent. It's about, when Young Zhao talked yesterday about, he basically was talking about project-based learning or product-based learning, or, you know what I'm saying? That's what these guys are doing, and they're really focused on a problem, and the creativity that they're putting into that, and just deeper level thinking is really impressive. In terms of Fairport excellence, you talked about being proud of Fairport, and I see it and hear it as well. Like, people hear you're from Fairport, even Young Zhao said that Fairport has a national reputation of excellence. And I think that you look at, we have national board certified teachers that I'm not sure if we ever did have that press conference.
Nope.
But we have more national board certified teachers here in Fairport than most places. We have a lot of New York State master teachers here as well that really, as a group, lead the state. So I think there's a great sense of professionalism and leadership among our staff, and it shows to other districts. I wanted to recognize that we also had 35% of the district opt out of state testing. Young Zhao would encourage us to press that a little bit and go higher. He wanted us to take the state to court, but we can talk about that at a different time. But anyway, 35% opt out is solid, and also wanted to recognize that the testing company, Questar, is that they were hacked. They were hacked into on the day of testing, and it took down the tests for those districts that were participating in all the 100% computerized testing. It was a mess, and students had to go back and retake the test. They lost hours of work, and it's just a big problem. So something to keep our eye on. And just one other thing I wanted to talk to the board about. I did participate in a meeting with Brett, Tom Devitt, and Ross. We talked about the communication system within the district. The initial building that has the new IP-based phone system is at Northside, so I'm interested in hearing how the implementation of that system went, and there's plans to extend that to other buildings in the district, have an IP-based system, and then increase the functionality of the communication systems to security, to curriculum, to attendance, to a lot of different things that it can do, because it's IP-based, right? So we have one building under our belts, and we'll see how that goes.
And it's also in the technology long-term plan as well, so we'll be able to keep you abreast.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, then we need a motion to adjourn to executive session. Marty, second. Judy. And I'm supposed to say who's invited, is that right? Just
Kate.
Kate Hill and our superintendent, right? All the others have an earlier evening. All in favor? 6-0. So there's not any action that we'll be taking afterwards, so when we come out, we will adjourn for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you.